Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fourth Quarter Sports Podcast, Week 7. I'm your host, Edward DeMaria, and with me today is my good friend, Scott. Scott, how are you doing today?
Edward, I'm very good today. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So, in the world of sports going on, the NBA's wrapped up. The Lakers were crowned champions. Talked about that a little bit last week with Jacob. But as we're getting into it this week, NFL Week 7's coming up. They've sort of edged out most of their problems with COVID. And the MLB World Series just kicking off. So we'll get to that later. First up, big things in the NFL. Today, not really much happened except for with the trade deadline coming up next week on the 2nd, in 2 weeks on November 2nd. Some of the teams have, started making talks, but today specifically, while I was taking a test in AP microeconomics, the Baltimore Ravens made some big money moves trading.
Two of them, right?
Yeah, they traded a third-round pick and a conditional fourth for Pro Bowl defensive lineman and former Maryland Terrapin, Yannick Ngakoue, former Jacksonville Jaguar, turned into a Minnesota Viking, and now he's here in Baltimore with the Ravens, pairing him up back with Calais Campbell, hoping to bring Saxonville to Baltimore. As well as signing veteran S-tier wide receiver Dez Bryant to their practice squad. I remember sitting in microeconomics with Jacob in front of me and then showing him on my Apple Watch, the news, and I just can remember him just immediately just face palming as hard as he can.
Yeah, it's not a good time to be a Cowboys fan.
No, it's really just not. All right, and but besides from that, there are some big games this weekend. 5-0 Titans are going up against the 5-0 Steelers. The last 3 times this has happened, whatever team's won that game has actually gone on to win the Super Bowl, with 2 undefeated teams playing after week 7 or later. So,
another one of the NFL's ridiculous stats.
For all we know, we could be seeing the Super Bowl champion crowned this Sunday.
We'll talk about the NFL's ridiculous stats another time.
Dude, oh my goodness.
San Francisco was beaten by Kansas City in Super Bowl 54.
No one cares about, but yet they find a way to leave it in.
It always happens somehow. Alrighty, but so when it comes to NFL games and picking them, obviously there's another slate of games this week. Teams on bye this week are the hometown Baltimore Ravens, as well as the Miami Dolphins, Indianapolis Colts, and the aforementioned Minnesota Vikings, Dolphins, Ravens, and Colts. So here are all the games. You can see them. You're going to need a lock of the week, which I'll talk about once we finish these picks. But that's pretty much it. So starting off tonight, as this is being filmed Thursday, October 22nd, the worst division in football decided, let's have a game where 2 of our teams play each other. The New York Giants are in Philadelphia taking on the Eagles this week. I, of course, being a Ravens fan, watched the Eagles play last week, and I liked what I saw from the Eagles, especially in the second half. They overcame a 17-point deficit and honestly brought it back within 2 points, and that was a close game. Last week I said that if the Eagles did beat the Ravens, upset them, I would jump into Ego Alley. Didn't upset them. Still not cold. Still not freezing cold in Maryland, but I'm still going to go with the Eagles for this matchup. At home, they almost took down the Ravens, so I don't think the Giants will be much of a problem for them.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, Ed. I think that even as disappointing as Philadelphia is year after year, their coaching staff, and there's talent there. I think Carson Wentz is very overrated. And I think that, but I think he's led the Eagles to the playoffs, and then Nick Foles obviously led to the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna have to agree with you and go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. So next up, we're getting into the Sunday games now. Early 1 o'clocks. Detroit is playing at Atlanta. 2 teams that have yet to find success, but on paper they look really good. Obviously, Detroit, a big problem for them is their defense. Everything else looks like it's clicking on offense. Atlanta, defense is doing fine. A little bit of injuries, but nothing terrible. Coaching was holding them back. Coaching is now gone. And they were cooking last week. Julio Jones.
Matt Ryan had a big week last week.
Matt Ryan had a big week.
I didn't pick him up in the fantasy league.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So, in the first battle of the Mercedes-Benz stadiums, I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons at home. mainly because they actually have somewhat of a defense. The Lions' corner is still trying to get them off of the injured reserve, and they're slowly coming back. I think the Lions might be a team, later on in the week, you might look to make a little bit of a push. But I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons this week.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I just got a feeling about Detroit this week.
I got a feeling pick. Ooh.
Kenny Galladay. I got Matt Prater on the fantasy team. They've been producing big for me this year. Even if the Lions aren't, I'm feeling a good week from both of them. So I'm gonna take the Detroit Lions in this matchup. And honestly, I think they're gonna win by more than 10.
Oh! Lions by plus 10. I'm gonna put that in here. Lions plus.
I might be an overestimating on that one, but.
Hey, all right. Next up, we have the Battle of Ohio, with the Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati at Paul Brown Stadium. That will certainly be an interesting matchup. But Cleveland is obviously the better team in this situation, so I think that I'm going to end up taking. I think I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns in this game. I don't know, I just blanked there for a second, but I'm taking the Cleveland Browns over the Bengals. Joe Burrow's looked great, but he just hasn't developed yet. So
I think it's going to be a good game. I mean, we've seen Cincinnati hanging with some good teams, but I think Joe Burrow's just not all there. And I think the Cleveland Browns have a much better team, and they should win, but I don't think it'll be a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a close game. So here we are for my game of the week. 5-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, 5-0 Tennessee Titans. One of a very interesting offense that we've seen bounce back very strongly, as well as one of the best defenses in the league, facing off against a team who's really found their identity in the last couple of weeks in the Titans, with not just being able to run the ball with Derrick Henry, but also play very good defense, as well as Ryan Tannehill turning into, a phenomenal passer and being, one of those guys that plays under Adam Gase, does terrible, gets traded, gets paid, does amazing. So this is obviously going to be a very close game, and it's going to be decided by whose defense breaks first, the Titans' pass defense or the Steelers' run defense. And the Steelers' defense is so built front seven heavy, but losing Devin Bush is going to give him a slight disadvantage this week. And looking at statistics, the Pittsburgh defense is more built for pass rush. It's obviously built to run stuff, but more or less pass rush with guys like TJ Watt and Stephon Tuitt and Bud Dupree. Cam Hayward also is a big guy that can stuff the run, but when you're going up against a guy that's equally as big in Derrick Henry, I just don't see there's any way that you can stop him. So I'm going to take the Titans this week in I'm not going to say a close victory, because I don't think it will be, somewhere around the 10-13 point margin, but I'm taking the Titans at home this week.
I like the way you think, Ed, but I think it will be a not close game, but I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win this game.
Wow.
I think Chase Claypool, he's been on a run. He's going to haul in something like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Big Ben's going to have a great night, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are just going to steamroll their way to victory, and I think they're going to have a good playoff run this year. And I don't know. I've seen good things from the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, great coach. Big Ben, coming towards the end of his career. So I think it's setting up to be a good year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight, or on Sunday.
Yeah. Continuing with our 1 o'clock games here, the Carolina Panthers in the second matchup in a Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They own the right to 2 stadiums, the Falcons and the Saints. The Panthers are playing the Saints in New Orleans. The Panthers are a team that was able to sort of click after losing their best player. Teddy Bridgewater has been cooking the last couple of weeks, minus last week against the Bears, but the Bears proved to be a formidable opponent with a really solid defense. So I am going to go ahead and take the Panthers in this game, mainly because of the fact that we don't know if Michael Thomas is going to play this Sunday. If he does, that might swing things in the way of the Saints, but I don't know. I just don't like what I've seen from Drew Brees this year as far as a passer. So I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers.
Fair. I'm going to have to go with the New Orleans Saints. I'm taking experience in Drew Brees. Even if he's missing big targets and, they haven't been playing as great as they should be, I still have faith in Drew Brees. I think they're going to pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a completely valid argument. But
that's a game. That's one of those games this week that could go either way. There's not really a clear team that should win.
Yeah. So coming up to our next game, I'm gonna flip back to what you were saying about the Detroit Atlanta game. You said that you guaranteed the Lions to win by at least 10 points this weekend. I am guaranteeing the Buffalo Bills to win by 10 points over the New York Jets. The Jets will not win a football game until they fire Adam Gase.
We're back to the 2016 Browns? Something like that?
Yeah, honestly, because I think what's going to happen is Adam Gase is going to drive this team into the ground, and once the higher-ups want to get rid of him, he's going to be like, I'm planning for the future. Sam Darnold obviously isn't the guy. I'm going to go, whatever, get Trevor Lawrence, do great things with him, waste Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, get fired, to have someone else come in. Trevor Lawrence turns into an MVP, while Sam Darnold goes and plays in Dallas somewhere else, and becomes this bona fide superstar stud and wins Dallas two championships, because that's just what players do after leaving Adam Gase. Who knows? Bills by 10.
I agree with you if the Bills win. I won't help you and say the Bills win by 20. Jets don't score more than 10 points. Don't even break the double digits. And on Trevor Lawrence, okay, I was having this conversation with my dad. I think he's going to be one of the biggest busts in NFL history.
Wow!
He projects so well in the NFL, and I think that he's going to get drafted by the New York Jets, and he's going to either get hurt or he's just going to have a horrific rookie season and he's going to wash out by his third year in the NFL. Big predictions, all right? Because especially with how I'd love them to prove me wrong, but you know what? His talent's there, his looks definitely are not. So we'll see. But I'm taking the Buffalo Bills by a margin of 20 or more.
I can tell you right. So you're basically guaranteeing the Bills to score at least 30 points just based on the numbers.
Yeah. Josh Allen's been too good to not produce.
I can tell you right now, my grandfather, who watches this podcast, is a die-hard Jets fan. I will send you the text message that I get after this podcast goes up on Friday and let you just know what he said, because it's going to be something, because I don't think he's very happy about that prediction.
Yeah. So.
But next up, we got a slew of games, 2 back-to-back games, one that's just shitty. The other is going to be a complete blowout, I think. Dallas at Washington. Nobody actually wants to see the NFC East play each other because they're all terrible. But unfortunately, someone has to win, and I think it's going to be the football team.
I 100% agree with you. I think Dallas is Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's a good quarterback.
Just not the answer.
He's not the answer. And Dallas is going to be, crying themselves to sleep on Sunday night after a loss to Washington.
Yeah.
Washington football team.
Oh, God, now I got to deal with that. Okay, so next up, the Green Bay Packers are taking on the Houston Texans. Nobody actually thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to lose a game out of pure spite for them drafting another quarterback, but he did, so I think that just builds up the spite. Packers by a lot.
Yeah, I think the Houston Texans are... They're, to be fair to them, their opening stretch of games has been
rough. One of the hardest you can play.
Difficult.
100%. Yeah. Having to go and play
Washington. Did they play Chiefs?
Having to go play in Kansas City.
Baltimore.
And then home against Baltimore, and having to go play in Pittsburgh, it's just not easy. So you got to cut them some slack.
And they're not a bad football team. I mean, they were a playoff team last year. I think they might have been a wild card, but I mean, they're a good football team.
No, they won the division last year because they got a home playoff game against the Bills.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're just kind of getting unlucky, to be honest.
I can get behind that.
It's the NFL. You got to win football games.
Yeah. Next up, so we're getting into the 4 o'clock games now. Interesting game here. Tampa Bay at Las Vegas. The Raiders are hot.
Yeah.
They are hot. They beat the Chiefs last week or 2 weeks ago, and that's something. You don't just beat the Chiefs and then lay low. You beat the Chiefs and you let the world know.
Yeah.
I want to say 99.9% sure they were on bye last week because we're in week 7 and they've only got 5 games played. They had a bye last week. So, they're rested coming off a game. The Bucs just came off a massive win over the Packers. But I still think that the Raiders are going to win this game. I think that they're going to stay hot. You get hot, you stay hot. And I think that they're going to go on a little bit of a roll here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think it'll be a good game. I think TB12 is going to show up. But I think that coaching and just kind of the run that they're on right now, I think the Raiders are going to pull out.
Yeah. So next up, Kansas City at Denver. You don't just... the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. You don't just lose and then lose again. You lose and then you take out your anger on whoever. So my condolences to Broncos fans everywhere.
Yeah, I think that won't be pretty. I think Patrick Mahomes is not happy that they lost. Especially to a team that they should have beaten. They should be beating every game. They should be going undefeated. I think it'll most likely be a blowout. Especially the Broncos have been so disappointing in the past few seasons. It's a decline after you win a Super Bowl that somehow the Chiefs have managed to avoid.
Yeah, especially as well as the Chiefs also are coming off of a win, obviously, over the Bills. So a big win over the Bills on a Monday night, early Monday night game, started like 5 o'clock. And so that's a little bit of that get hot, stay hot momentum that you're going to see coming into Denver. Denver coming off of the most painful game of football I've ever witnessed, as their kicker scored 28 points in fantasy based off of field goals alone.
Yeah.
So next up,
listen, I had the Colts defense score like 28 on me, so I know the feeling. Special teams just annihilating fans.
That's pain. So next up, the Niners versus the Patriots. Do I have to pick this game? That's a rough game as well.
Yeah.
I
think New England is Cam Newton coming? Is he back?
Yeah, he was back last week.
Yeah, then I think that's kind of no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think that New England will.
This is
Francisco's just got a ton of injuries and they're not very good this year.
Everyone likes to use the term Super Bowl hangover, like you win a Super Bowl and then you kind of fall in like a little bit of a landslide. Super Bowl hangover, that's kind of a thing. The Super Bowl hangover hit the losers harder than it hit the winners. Like, the Niners got smacked with a Super Bowl hangover. Injuries to not only their defense, but also the running back core, losing Matt Breida, and then just injuries for Raheem Mostert and other guys. Mm-hmm. Just really unfortunate, and that's about it. Yeah. So, next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is an interesting game because it is the first time, I believe, in a while that a single stadium will host 2 NFL games in the same week, as the Chargers and the Rams both play at home in SoFi Stadium. With that being said, the Jaguars are up there with the Jets for the worst team in the NFL, and the Chargers somehow have only won 2 games, 1 game, two game. I think 1 game.
I think they're 2-3.
2-3, even though that, Justin Herbert's looked great. The defense.
The know a ton about, but they're not that compared to where they should be. They're not that disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, they're just losing close games, and that's going to hurt your record, obviously. But I'm going to take the Chargers at home this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take them as well. I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to have the balls to win that game.
No, yeah. So next up, this is a game that was flexed. I think replacing Tampa Bay at Las Vegas. Let me just make sure I've got that right. I don't have the patience to look for it, so I probably do. Flexed Seattle at Arizona. Seattle is still undefeated. Arizona is a 2-loss team with losses to the Panthers and the Lions. So not the greatest of teams, but nevertheless, they've won the last 2 weeks, obviously fighting back. I believe they sit at 4-2 right now. Seattle at 6-0. This is an interesting game because the Cardinals just came off a big win over the battered up Cowboys, with the defense played better than we've seen them play all season. And I think that's going to be the key to success, is defenses, not only for the Cardinals, but also the lack thereof in Seattle. They've had no defense. They give up 30 points to the Dolphins, which even the Jets held them to 24, whether that be because of Tua coming in at the end of the game, whatnot. Something else we need to talk about. So I'm going to take the Cardinals in this game.
I'm going to take Seattle. I got Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson on the fantasy team this year.
It's a fantasy pick.
I think combined they almost have. I think they all have over 300 points already. They had 2 weeks back to back where they each had 30 points. So I don't know. They haven't produced in a few weeks. They had a bye last week. Coming off the rest, I'm taking Seattle. Hopefully Russell Wilson's arm can beat out their horrible defense. So.
Yeah.
See what happens.
So Monday night, last game, the Chicago Bears coming off a big win over the Carolina Panthers versus the Rams, who came off of a bye week, I think. It was either a bye week or they beat the 49ers, one of the two, I don't remember. I want to say they beat the 49ers just off of pure...
Wait, Washington. Wait, no.
No, then they came off of a bye week. Or they...
Wait.
Yeah, let me just...
No, they lost to the 49ers.
They lost to the 49ers?
24-16.
What? Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you know it?
Huh. How the hell did they do that? The 49ers are terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Bears all the way. Oh, my goodness.
Bears, listen.
Bears.
Alright?
All the way.
Yeah, Nick Foles is out to do it again. Okay? I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but Nick Foles is taking this team to the house.
Jeez, that's a lot of faith. Alrighty, so as usual, you need a lock of the week. So far, I have picked the Eagles, Rams, Packers, Bears, Ravens, and I picked the Patriots 1 week, but they got COVID that week, so they didn't play. So I'm basically using it as a re-roll token. So I'm currently sitting at 3-2. You, the guests, are sitting at 5-1, picking the Colts, Cardinals, Niners, Ravens, Steelers, and Dolphins. So
the question is, Ed, do I go for a risky pick and pick a game that could go either way, or do I take the clear and obvious choice here?
Well, obviously what you want to do is you want to be right. And so in being right this week, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, getting demoralized after watching their two of their three best defensive players in the last 5 years just get tossed around for picks and onto a now contender. Demoralizing. Jalen Ramsey getting that bag, demoralizing. Gardner Minshew being terrible, demoralizing. So I'm going to take the Chargers at home this week.
All right, I think a solid choice this week is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
I think that there's other games here. I mean, you can look at Kansas City. You can look at Green Bay, and you can say, yeah, those are probably pretty. Cincinnati, Cleveland, but I think that the Buffalo Bills against the New York Jets. I think anybody who's playing the Jets should pick them.
Yeah, that was kind of my mentality. I was like, why can't I just pick whoever's playing against the Eagles this week? Like,
exactly.
But I mean, so far, if someone were to just say playing the Jets, they would be undefeated. They'd be 6-0 right now.
Exactly.
So maybe that's how you do things. I don't know.
You gotta be smart about your picks, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's the way to do things. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the the NFL side of things. Another big thing that happened this week was the Miami Dolphins very mysteriously benched starting quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick after a 24-0 win over the New York Jets. Where he threw 2 interceptions, whether that had anything to do with it or not. He also threw 3 touchdowns, I believe. Was benched for backup quarterback, rookie lefty sensation Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama product, which is an interesting choice. Obviously one that I'm assuming wasn't a very rash, like that decision. I'm assuming they thought long and hard about this. But it's just one of those things that you see... you're never really guaranteed a job in the NFL. But I just find it very interesting that they would bench him after he was playing well and playing well for them. Obviously, you're gonna be you'd be heartbroken if you were to go and watch.
Exactly. You're winning games for your football team, and then they bench you for some rookie.
And even he was heartbroken. I read some of the stuff that he was saying on Twitter, and it just like a dagger right through my heart. He was like, I finally felt good. Like, I felt like this was my team. And then, it was kind of odd to basically get fired and then have to go sit in Zoom meetings all the next day with the guy who's replacing me and my boss. And you just read that stuff and you're just like,
yeah,
wow. So it kind of just shows you.
I think that Miami must have a plan, and they're probably saying, okay, he's probably been showing well in practice. For the few snaps he got in at the end of that game, didn't play terrible, right?
Yeah, no.
And so I think they'll look to him. If he's playing good first 2 quarters, then they'll probably leave him in. Hopefully he plays well, but they always have that fallback in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So. And
obviously what you want to do is if you're the Dolphins, you don't want to get rid of Ryan Fitzpatrick. You want to keep him there. You want to help him mentor Tua to sort of, if he does struggle this week or next week against the Rams, which is a very interesting choice to start him now against a harder opponent than, say, last week. And maybe it was the bye week they have this week, because they are on bye this week. That's going to help them progress. I mean, it's just something bizarre. Like nothing's really ever guaranteed for you. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, yeah, he's just made... I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously, they should hold on to him until the end of the season to help mentor, and then... maybe trade him. He's still got a year left on his contract with the Dolphins, so maybe trade him. Maybe just hold him out to the end of his contract. Maybe he retires. You never really know at this point.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, and especially if they start him and Tua's just not playing great, and whether they put in Fitzpatrick and then start Tua again the following week, or see how many chances he gets, or if he's playing good, then you just leave him in. They're still winning football games. Yeah,
I mean, you just let him cook if he's cooking.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much everything that's happening in football right now. The bye week the trade deadline is coming up, so next week we might see a little more of that, trading, signing guys, or not signing guys, afterwards, trading. And then even the week after, I believe the 2 weeks episode will be going up after the trade deadline has happened on the 6th. The trade deadline is not next Monday, but the Monday after that. So that's just coming up. So in baseball news here, the World Series has started, and it's starting to kick off. The Dodgers beat the Rays. It's the LA Dodgers versus the Tampa Bay Rays. And it's the first time that we could legitimately see a team pretty much win 3 out of the 4 big U.S. sports. The Rays are in the World Series. The Lightning already won it, and the Buccaneers are looking promising.
Let's see what happens.
It is very possible that 3 Tampa Bay teams could take home championships this year. After Game 1, it did not look like that. The Dodgers beat them by 5, 8-3. The Dodgers pitching just caught them off guard like that. But they bounced back in Game 2. The Rays obviously are a big budget team. They're not. It's a really bizarre team because they don't have a lot of insane superstar talent. While you look at the Dodgers, they got Clevenger, they got Bellinger, as well as Mookie Betts is there. Not Bellinger. What the other guy? I forget what his name is.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay is a team that's, in recent years been under 500. They haven't been that solid MLB franchise. I mean, they've been with the Orioles, essentially. They've been better than that, but with the Orioles the past few years, and now to be in the World Series, it's great for them, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a 6-game series, but I'm taking the underdogs to win. But I mean, they just gotta produce.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. One thing that we might see tonight, a big change is Bellinger is on the Dodgers. A big thing that we might see happen tonight is looking back. It appears that the Dodgers did not pitch Clayton Kershaw on Tuesday night. So that might have or Wednesday night, last night, that might have a big impact. Joe Kelly got a little bit more throwing. So we might see, that pitching step up and hold the Rays to a little bit less runs, which means the Rays pitching or hitting is going to have to step up. But it's really just a big time will tell thing. So that's happening 23rd tomorrow night through Sunday. Sunday you'll see Game 5, which 100% will be happening even if it's a sweep. So we could see this whole thing done by Sunday. It might last until Wednesday, which is when Game 7 is supposed to be. But besides from that, that's pretty much all we've got. A little bit of a shorter episode this week. Not terribly. But, I mean, there's not really much to talk about. Sports are coming down to a close. The MLB is closing soon. Eventually, this is just going to become a big, what's happening in the NBA offseason, NBA draft, but then just a big big sports, or not sports, football podcast talking about a lot of more football stuff. And we're going to
start getting into the playoffs.
And you're going to see that shift sort of come up with the trade deadline's about to happen, so a lot of moves can happen before then. Especially with a team, like the Ravens, who, most people, normally knows, like the sit back, let things happen, go with who we've got. But I'd say they hit a home run getting Yannick, as well as signing Des Bryant. But GM Eric DaCosta, praise EDC, the god that he is. He's gone out and said that they are not done. I mean, there's still a little more than a week, 10-ish days until the trade deadline ends. We could see them make another big splash trading for, a wide receiver, someone that they really need to pick up. And that trade deadline will sort of end right after they play the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I feel like if they are going to make a splash, it's either going to come Monday right before the trade deadline ends, or sometime next week. Maybe another Thursday acquisition, something like that. But if I take a guess on where they were going to go, I'd say the Houston Texans, because right now their franchise is a little bit of a mess. And I feel like, they're a team that might be looking to, restructure some things. New coach, new GM, obviously. Bill O'Brien served as both. So I could see, grabbing someone like, obviously they've said that all of their guys, all of their wide receivers are out there to be traded for. And as much as Deshaun Watson loves him, and I don't think they will trade him, if the Ravens were to trade for someone, I'd like to see them trade for either Will Fuller from the Houston Texans, or go on a little more of a reach. Might have to require a player or two. along with picks, which we have which we're running short on a little bit this year. I think we're down a third and a fifth this year, or I think a third and 2/5 this year. We still got a fourth, and a third from next year, which we don't really see a lot in those third round pick values. Maybe someone like Michael Gallup from the Cowboys. He's in that big 3 wide receiver core. Or maybe we go out on a reach and we look to, some other teams, places that, have wide receivers that are just overshadowed by 2 guys. LA has Josh Reynolds, who's a solid wide receiver, overshadowed by Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Someone like Cole Beasley, overshadowed by Stephon Diggs, John Brown, or maybe just bring John Brown back. Or another name I've heard thrown around a little bit is Brashad Perriman, bring him back, which I don't like that idea very much, because I read an article by CBS Sports and it was like, players every team should target before the trade deadline, and the Ravens said Brashad Perriman and Hayden Hurst, 2 guys that we let walk in free agency because they were pretty much bust picks for us. So I don't see either of us bringing either of those guys back, but that's just my opinion. Those are guys maybe I'd like to see. Another guy is
do you see them going after any veteran wide receivers or tight ends? They're kind of locked up in the tight end position. I better say,
I feel like tight end style, Nick Boyle and Mark Andrews are both good. Nick Boyle's developed a lot more as a pass catcher than just a blocker, but both can block, both can catch. And
you see him going after someone like DeAndre Hopkins or Larry Fitzgerald?
I don't see us taking that big of a swing. We got Des Bryant. He's on the practice squad, so he's not taking up an active roster spot right now, pending a physical and all that other stuff. But if he shows out, I could see him getting promoted. Maybe coming in playing that as much as I love him, that Miles Boykin slot, until Miles Boykin develops into what we see him as. And just running that 2-3 wide receiver set with Snead, Hollywood, and Des Bryant, maybe. But we've got a bye week, a lot of time to develop talent, and it is nice having that bye week to sort of swing people in. Having this whole weekend and into the next week off to sort of, if we want to bring someone and bring them in, get COVID tests done, physicals and all that stuff. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited for the Ravens. We've kind of been disappointed even though we've been winning, but
yeah.
I need to get some more confidence in Lamar.
Yeah.
It's one thing to win, but it's one thing to almost lose to a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not. If you're as good as the Ravens are and you almost had an undefeated season last year, you have to be blowing out the Eagles. And I don't know. I think that's Lamar's youth. I think that might just be part of his character. I mean, he's third year?
Yeah, third year pretty much. Yeah.
So at this point, you gotta start to be a little bit more. I'm going to say developed at this point. You got to have some more that it factor,
Yeah, I mean, so. Alrighty, well, I won't keep you too long because I know you got to get going. But thank you very much for coming on this week. It was great. Obviously not as much content heavy, more discussion heavy this week, which, it's fine. Working around some stuff, always down to try something new. But thank you thanks again for coming on.
Appreciate it. Good luck with all this. Good luck with school and everything.
No problem.
Talk to you later, man.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Edward DeMaria, the host of the Fourth Quarter Sports Podcast, and I will see you next week. Adios.